Dan, tell us, what does second vote mean?
Well, your first vote is at the ballot box, and your second vote is how you use your money. And we started second vote research years ago to educate consumers on what companies are doing with their advocacy and their philanthropy. And we started second vote investors to basically do the same thing in the investment universe.
All right. Well, in the economic war room, we like to talk about the bad, the good, and the beautiful. I mean, Clint Eastwood had the good, the bad, the ugly. We like to start with the bad, then come up with some solutions for it, and then say, hey, if we do the right thing, what's the beautiful future look like? Second vote, I think you've got a part in that. I mean, we talk about the bad all the time, but let's hear your perspective. Woke Wall Street, all of this crazy stuff they're doing. Tell us what's bothering you and what you've noticed out there that people need to be aware of.
Sure, thank you. I think most of your listeners have understood that social justice activism of corporations are really infringing on people's individual rights. And this activism is couched in terms like ESG investing or stakeholder capitalism. And I'm just going to take 2 minutes, explain what stakeholder capitalism is and why it's becoming such an issue. So stakeholder capitalism is an economic theory that says companies are not run solely for the benefit of generating shareholder value, but for the good of all stakeholders. So for the good of the environment or the good of the community at large. The problem is, who is defining good? The main proponents of stakeholder capitalism are people like Klaus Schwab of the Economic Forum, the Business Roundtable. It's the Davos crowd, and their definition of good does not align with that of conservatives and libertarians. So if you believe in the First or Second Amendment and it should be applied equally to all, if you are a pro-life, if you are not a climate alarmist, stakeholder capitalist management teams are taxing you as a shareholder to fund an agenda that you would not agree with. And I want to step back and say, we are not sticks in the mud. Milton Friedman himself said companies should focus on generating profits within ethical custom. And ethical custom, in my mind, means traditional charity. So feeding the hungry, helping the sick, the poor. Twitter dumping Trump, Amazon dumping Parler, that is not traditional charity. That is social justice engineering. And that is the problem that we're seeing out there. We're seeing these companies that are actually hostile towards 50% of the country. They're hostile to conservatives. And they're hurting their brands, their cash flows, and ultimately their stock prices. You can look at any of the recent examples. You can look at Coca-Cola. You can look at Delta. How many companies over the past month alone have hurt their brands, hurt their standing in the conservative community by speaking out on issues that are not traditional charity. So that's the problem as we see it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, at least 74 million people voted for Donald Trump. I mean, that's a huge base for a company to throw away. I don't want you as customers. You know, we had a slightly different take, but it aligns perfectly. And I agree with everything you said. But I had my friend Dr. Eric Davidson. He's at Baylor University, a finance professor. Even if they did have good intentions in this whole woke investing thing, even if the intentions were good, he likened it to a basketball team that focused solely on rebounding or focused solely on defense or solely on shooting. He said, you know, basically, Milton Friedman had it right. The profit motive has to take into account all of those issues. If you have proper government regulation and you have an informed consumer, basically you can't abuse the consumer as a stakeholder and make a profit. You can't abuse your employees and make a profit. You can't abuse the environment and make a profit. You'll get caught in all of those areas and it'll destroy your ability. But the profit motive kind of keeps score and it kind of sums up all of that. So even if the motives are good, stakeholder capitalism doesn't work nearly as well as shareholder capitalism.